wobble bad, wobble mean bearing bad. If we could afford it, we would fix this and get rid of it, to be totally honest. I don't think, I would not buy another Mahindra. You guys can go along for the ride, and hopefully you don't fall off. If you don't see this video, you ended up in a bale. Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Ohrmundt Simmentals. All right, Saturday morning, and it's looking to be a steamy one today. All right, so this morning and for the weekend, we're gonna start out down at the shop. We're gonna start out with the 2030 and do the thermostat on that. We were gonna do it last night, but it was just too warm. Like, I could barely even touch the bolts and stuff. So we'll finish that this morning, and then we're thinking Dad might go up and cut another chunk, because if we cut it early enough, it can sit today and sit tomorrow, and we might be able to bale it tomorrow afternoon. But let's get these guys grain and we'll head down to the shop. All right, so we did get the thermostat swapped out. Didn't really obviously show anything. Buddy of mine stopped over, so we shot the bull for quite a while. But we did end up taking off this whole piece. We did have some gasket material, not maybe the greatest gasket material, but we made a couple of gaskets for it, so we're gonna let it sit, and then this afternoon we'll put fluid in it. We had gasket material, but we didn't have any like RTV gasket maker or something like that to make it a little bit nicer one. So we'll see how these hold up. Oh well, it is getting freaking hot out here. This afternoon, Dad is gonna cut some hay. We're actually going to, because it is so hot, we're gonna put the 1411 on the 44. We keep, like, between the two of us, we keep talking, oh, it'd be really nice to have another cab tractor for the sole purpose of days like today. Just getting out of the sun, getting out of the heat. You know, it more so for Dad, but, you know, a little bit for me too. It'd be nice to have another cab tractor with AC, just to keep it even just comfortable, even if it doesn't work the greatest. So it's not 90 degrees. So we're gonna put the 1411 on the 44, and Dad's gonna cut hay with that guy so he can be comfortable. And then I'll probably end up picking up some bales. And then tomorrow, when it's actually hotter, we're gonna do some raking and baling. So we got these bales unloaded because if we get Dad going on cutting some hay, I'm gonna be either going up at the same time with him or right after him and pick up the rest of those bales where we kind of spun out. Alrighty, Dad is all hooked up and ready to go with the 44. Had to go get some Hornet spray because he had changed the height, and he's like, hey, we gotta switch it back because we're going in a different field. There was one field, we know we're not gonna touch it for second crop. So he wanted to cut it a little bit lower. It's just like a 1 acre field. So he said it, so I went back to change it. Well, I started taking the pin out and there's freaking hornets everywhere. One little bastard's got me right on the knee. Haven't been stung in years. So, whatever. But I got them. So this is just like a 1 acre chunk here, just a little strip, and then through there and then back there, there's like a 7 acre piece that we'll cut. He'll cut that after he's done here. But we just continue to cut this because since it's such a small strip, it gets a lot of shade. It just turns out decent. We just cut it once and no big deal. But yeah, first time cutting with the 44. And honestly, that's totally fine if it's more comfortable for Dad. If it was like in the low 80s, he'd totally be out here on the 29. It wouldn't be bad at all. But the only thing that he's nervous about is what's happening right now is he's up against the edge and the branches are rubbing on the tractor and stuff. That's what he doesn't like. Dad is all set here, and getting back to that other field should not be an issue for him. So the last couple hours I've actually been cutting lawn at Mom and Dad's, cut their front lawn, and a couple swipes down the lane since we don't have the brush hog. So we started hearing another little click coming out of the front wheel of the Mahindra. So probably the biggest flaw in the Mahindra 3550 is the bearing system in the front wheels. The bearings they're either not sized correctly or the wrong style. Personally, I think they should either be just straight up wheel bearings or they should be cylindrical roller bearings. Could a ball bearing do it? Yes, if it's sized correctly. One could say that maybe we mistreat our loader, but I would say that's kind of BS because we've done the same thing as far as workload with our old 1520 John Deere and our old Deutz, which was a 50 horse four-wheel drive as well. Now that one had its own unique issues, but actually wasn't quite as bad. So I am gonna feed a bale to the cows. That's what I'm doing right now because they have access to some shade. And then I'm gonna take down that center temp line so they can have the whole field. So I just put the bale right here because we've got some nice trees in the yard. Since they're in this chunk, they are hanging out already up here. And looks like they've been going at it. But there's still some grass left in this chunk and in their previous one. So I'm gonna take the temp line down. And if they wanna go roam around, they can. Hey, good morning. All right, we are going to run the Mahindra down to the shop. And probably one of us is gonna start taking that wheel off. All right, a little bit of an update. This is not good at all. So this is actually the bearing that we've never replaced before because it's never been an issue, but that's not supposed to happen, that beveled edge. That's crazy. Okay, real quick update. The short version, this is a real F show. The bearing that went out is one that hasn't ever gone out yet when we do this. And it's completely foobarred. This is the worst that we've ever had it. It's had oil the whole time. We checked it maybe a month ago and it was fine. I even checked it just 2 days ago. Plenty of oil in there. But what actually has happened, so this is actually stationary and bolted to the tractor, but because the bearing was out, this is the part that spins, and because the bearing was out, was able to do this. And from doing that, has worn this groove into this pilot. This is cast steel. This is obviously, because it's a gear, a much harder material. So we don't have to change that housing. That housing should still be fine. We'll deburr it and all that stuff. But we have to get all new bearings. And actually, we might try and get this guy out because that's where everything was sitting. This is by far the worst it has ever been. If we could afford it, we would fix this and get rid of it, to be totally honest. I don't think I would not buy another Mahindra. All right, back out from a lunch. Plenty of fluids. Got my water bottle, and I'm drinking some Gatorade on the way up to the field. We're going to be on the John Deere 2940 with the Kuhn SR 112, the speed rake. I'm going to head up there right now, and most likely Dad's going to be really close behind me, and then get that going. I was going to start on the little field, but then he thought in like 1 or 2 bales, he's going to be out of net. So if he's right behind me, then if we're on the bigger field, then I'm there when he runs out, and then we can swap that net out, and he's good to go for a while. Dad made it up here. We got a little bit tricky. There's like it's kind of got a little slant to it. Right here, there's a pretty good incline. But first couple bales, perfect. But like right now, he's gonna stop real quick, and then he's gonna have to jackknife pretty hard. What Dad has done and what he's doing right now is backing all the way down to the flat. Not fun, but takes out all the guesswork. Perfect. Another good looking bale. All right, so it's really faint, and this is honestly the first time we've had to deal with it, but they give you like a little red stripe indicator right here that tells you you're almost up. Technically probably could do another bale, but we'll read up on that and see how many we can do once we start seeing that. All right, Dad's gonna give her a go for one more. You guys can go along for the ride, and hopefully you don't fall off. If you don't see this video, you ended up in a bale. So the answer is 3. We can get 3 bales after we get the warning stripe. And the 3rd bale is like perfect. So awesome sauce. All right, let's get this swapped out, get this finished up. Dad's got like 3/4 of a strip here, and then I gotta buzz over and get the little like 1.5 acre field done. So Dad's gonna finish. This is just literally like 40 yards. And then we'll grab the 29, head over and start raking the little 1 acre chunk. First bale with the new roll, so you can see the tail that I left. Whew. So that wrapped pretty nice. All right, yeah, this is only like an acre, acre and a half, something like that. But it's always kind of nice because then there's a trail that goes down the hill and gets to the county road that's by the house. And in the amount of time it took me to drive from the field down here, Dad finished because he said he's got a 52-inch bale and he's just gonna drop that off at the farm. I am standing next to the Mahindra 3550 that we are very upset with. Again, it's one thing to like pull it apart. Okay, it's going bad. You know, we heard a noise, the seal went out, so the oil's leaking out, so we pull everything apart, put a new bearing in it, throw it back together. That one was freaking bad. And we didn't hear that noise only just a couple days ago. It is very annoying because it's probably, and I would say most definitely, the bearings are just flat out undersized. When it runs good, but it's probably this tractor and the way it's built is probably meant for, well, actually I shouldn't say that. The reason we picked the Mahindra, one, it did have price. It did have a lot better price. I mean, it was like $15,000 less than a John Deere of the equivalent size. It was really between the Mahindra and a Kubota. But the other thing that Dad really liked about this guy is that it's built beefy. Like everything around it is actually built really beefy. There's a lot of meat here. You know, yeah, it's dirty, but when you actually look at the frame, the back end and stuff, it gives you the feel of beef. There's a lot of meat there. And that was, just looking at dry weight, this thing weighed 1,000 pounds more than the John Deere and the Kubota. That was part of the reason we bought this. We wanted something beefy and heavy that could do the work. That was one of the big selling points. It's simple, like to operate, not horrible to work on. There are some quirks to working on this thing. We are at the location we are at, and we will deal with it, but we'll get it fixed. We should not have to change this housing, even though, yes, it is wore out and grooved out and stuff, but we'll deburr it, obviously. But this should not wobble in here, because it sits in here. It should not do this. It should only spin, not wobble. Wobble bad, wobble mean bearing bad. So we'll smooth it up, we'll deburr it and that kind of stuff, but we shouldn't have to do anything with the housing because it's just that groove that's wore there. And the other thing that we talked about doing is draining all the gear oil on both sides, because technically, as this whole front end goes back and forth, it can potentially share gear oil from one side to the other. So we think we're gonna drain all the gear oil out, at least do that, so that those filings and stuff don't potentially ruin anything else. Enough ranting, let's move the truck and get set up for when Dad gets here. All right, we do have a little bit of hay stuck in our thing here, but how hard is it to get out? Oh, that's not bad at all. That I actually could blow out. All right, so we got the baler mostly cleaned out, got the majority of the stuff out of there. I would say the only thing it's not horrible, but is not the greatest, is trying to clean out that pan. So there's the auger, like the stuffer auger, I guess you could say, where those like nylon guides are. Well, there's a pan underneath that, and there's a gap in the front of it, you know, obviously to help stuff like the chaff and stuff fall down. But that pan does collect with garbage, and that can kind of be a pain to clean out a little bit, but it's not horrible. Propped up these here. All right, another bag of the Nutri Beef with fly control, and another bag of the Redmond Trace, not with garlic. Last time I went, Fleek did not have it, and that was just a week ago. So, whatevs. But still trying to keep a little bit better quality plain salt, trace salt. I like a trace salt just because you get a little bit extra of the trace minerals. So if I'm gonna have that, I'm trying, hoping that the Redmond is a little better quality, which I do think it is. So see how that goes this summer. We'll find out in late September when we do preg check. So we think everybody is pretty happy. Cows should be. They got some really nice fresh grass. What's definitely out there is pretty nice. These guys got that little bale. They'll poke around on that, but they're gonna end up in the shade pretty quick. All right, it is Sunday. It is the end of the day. It is the end of the weekend, and it's freaking hot out here. So it'll be nice to get in some air conditioning, and still got to go into town, but there'll be air conditioning there too. So some good, and definitely obviously some bad for this weekend. We got some more hay baled. That RB450, that New Holland RB450 is doing really nice. We just needed to get it fine-tuned and adjusted. But yeah, the Mahindra, we kind of just thought it would be, yeah, we're just going to pull it apart. There's going to be a little bit of damage, you know, or signs of damage or whatever. We'll pull it apart like we always do and clean it up and put it back together, and it'll be fine. Like the one we did in the spring, we did that one. We actually didn't replace anything because nothing was bad. We just cleaned it up and put it back together because we thought we were hearing a noise from it, but we weren't. We haven't heard a peep out of that right side. And we haven't touched the left side in like 3 years, you know, and then to have the damage that had occurred was very disheartening. And very annoying because this is like the 5th or 6th time that we've gone into one of those front 4-wheel drive assemblies on the Mahindra. It's just like, I think the concept is okay, it's just very undersized. Like, I don't know if that front axle was really meant for like 30, 35, 25 horse tractors, and our tractor was the largest tractor that they put on it, or what. But the bearings are undersized, and there's really no way of getting around it. So, and honestly, the seal design's kind of crappy too. So there's no protecting the seal from garbage, and once garbage gets in there, it'll instantly eat it away. But who am I? So it is the end of the day. It is the end of the video. Hope you guys liked the video. Please hit that thumbs up button. Help support the channel. And of course, if you have any questions on what we're doing with the baler or what we're doing with the Mahindra and how we're going to fix it, we will fix it. It'll be just fine when we're done. I have to make a list of parts tonight. But if you got any questions on that or anything else, please leave them in the comments. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Definitely help support the channel. Help us get to our goal of 2,000 subs. But definitely subscribe to the channel. Follow along for more. See what happens to the Mahindra. And as always, thanks for coming along.